Come in.
Excuse me, Detective Marilow? I'm Jim Pearson. I'm from the COI. I'm here about Mr. Finster's complaint.
A what? This had better be good, kid. I'm up to my neck in murders.
You were the detective that handled Mr. Finster's complaint?
Finster? Oh yeah, Finster. I remember him now. Listen, kid. If I had a nickel for every so-called Nazi spy in this city, I would be a very rich man.
So you don't think his complaint was legitimate?
Ever since you secret agent types start stirring people up about Nazi spies, every Tom, Dick, and Harry with a beef about his neighbors has been into my office. You care to take a guess how many of them panned out?
Well, what did your investigation reveal? Was there anything to the invitation? You did investigate this, didn't you?
Now listen, Sonny! There's a butcher on the loose in my city. I didn't have time. Hey, isn't that sort of thing your job now? I don't have time to babysit another Fed.
Detective, I understand you must be very busy right now.
You don't understand nothing! Every day, it seems, we find another body or a part of a body. We don't have enough good leads and we don't have enough men to cover this case, and on top of that, I got some horse's ass from the Federal Bureau of Investigation looking over my shoulder trying to tell me how to do my job.
I'm sorry to have bothered you, Detective. I'll be on my way.
This case is gonna be the death of me yet. For what it's worth, kid, Finster had a look at the mugshot books. He said he spotted the Joe what handed him that screwy invitation. I think he even marked the books and everything. You can have a look through them if you think it'll help.
Thank you, Detective. This must be the one Finster looked through. Are you any closer to catching the torso killer?
That sick son of a bitch has been too clever.
How's that?
Well, for starters, he's not leaving enough behind for us to identify. Our best guess is he's cutting up bums and whores, people nobody'd miss. Takes them apart real clean, too, like a doctor. 2 whacks and he's through them. The queerest thing is, he bleeds them dry, washes them clean, and wraps them up like a butcher, all nice and neat in newspapers. It's like nothing I've ever seen, and I've seen plenty.
I'm sure it's only a matter of time before something breaks through.
Oh, you got that right. His kind always slips up. And when he does, bang! I'm gonna be right there on top of him.
Hasn't the FBI been able to give you any relief with the torso investigation?
That's a good one, kid. Elliot Ness has saddled me with a junior AG man named Winslow, who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. About all he's done is look pretty in his fancy suits for the photo boys and flapped his gums to the reporters about how he is gonna catch that killer.
I met Special Agent Winslow in McGinney's bar. If he's the best the FBI has to offer you, well, you're in a whole lot of trouble.
What the hell was he doing in McGinney's bar? Oh, pressing the palms of the less fortunate for when he runs for mayor?
Well, he said he was working undercover, trying to track down a lead on the torso killer. He stood out like a sore thumb.
He's about as likely to find the killer in McGinty's as my grandmother is to win the Kentucky Derby.
Natural history. Can I help you?
Yes, I'm Agent Jim Pearson with the COI. I was trying to reach a Professor Strauss.
Professor Strauss is not in. You're from Mr. Penske's office, aren't you?
Yes, sir, sort of. I wanted to...
Professor Strauss is away on business. I'll be sure to leave him a message.
Thanks. Sir?
Yes?
Sorry to bother you, sir.
Not at all, Mr. Pearson. Come right in.
When I arrived back at my office, there was another message from the museum. Whatever had been going on between Walter Pensky and Dr. Strauss seemed to be pretty important to both of them. Since I didn't have any more leads on my own investigation, and since Strauss's name did appear on the FBI's blacklist, along with Hank Finster's, I thought I might as well check into it.
Come in.
Excuse me. Are you Miss Strauss?
I'm Helen Strauss.
Hi, how do you do? I'm Jim Pearson from the COI. I came across your name at work, and I was hoping, I was hoping you might be able to help me.
I'd love to. That is, if I can.
What is it exactly your father does, Helen?
Why? Didn't Mr. Pensky tell you?
I'm afraid I've never met Mr. Pensky.
But don't you... I'm afraid I don't understand. Didn't Mr. Pensky send you?
I've replaced Mr. Pensky. I found the message you left for him, and, well, I was hoping you might be able to tell me what he needed to see your father about.
He wanted my father to examine some artifacts he'd found on an investigation of his. As far as I know, they never did meet. My father was called away suddenly on business, and I didn't want to leave Mr. Pensky in the lurch. That's why I volunteered to help. If I could, of course.
What is it you do here, Helen?
Well, I'm just a graduate student intern here now, but one day I'm going to run this museum, or one just like it anyway. They've got such a wonderful display of Central European artifacts from the Middle Ages. Well, that's my area of study, Central European history, and I'm sorry, I'm sure you're not interested in listening to me babble. I could so just go on and on about my work.
Oh, that's okay, Professor.
My father's the professor.
And I just bet you're a chip off the old block. Do you suppose that these are the artifacts that Mr. Pensky wanted to speak to your father about?
Why, yes, I believe they are. Mr. Pensky told my father there were inscriptions on them. These are runes. Norse runes, I'm sure of it.
Norse runes?
Yes, Norse. The ancient Scandinavians, the Swedes, the Danes, the Germans. You probably know of them as Vikings. We still see many of their roots today. For example, Wednesday is a derivative of Woden's Day or Odin's Day. And then there's...
Whoa. Slow down, Professor. Are you trying to tell me that these runes are an ancient form of Germanic writing?
Yes, that's right. The runes are a sort of alphabet. Some people also use the symbols to represent words, like the Egyptian hieroglyphics.
These pieces look like they interlock somehow. Do you think you could help me figure out the order?
Sure, I'd love to.
What about these parchments here? They're the same runes, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Someone's already begun a translation of them. 9 gifts to Odin. That generally would have meant a sacrifice of some sort.
A sacrifice? What sort of sacrifice?
Usually a human sacrifice. The Vikings would choose 9 strong men and hang them. Sometimes they'd behead them. As often as not, it merely meant an animal sacrifice.
Go on.
Well, it's hard to tell. These sheets are just fragments. I'd need some time.
All right. I'll check back later then.